This is the Skunk Fam podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with Joe Pietri, the legendary Joe Pietri. If you're not familiar with who Joe is, he wrote a book called The King of Nepal, detailing his life and adventures in Nepal and all around the world with hash and cannabis. And he also wrote a book called The 15-Ounce Pound, which is the Big Pharma's plan to patent pot, basically detailing Big Pharma's plan to take over cannabis. He's also given us some really incredible information regarding the rest of the industry, as well as cultivation techniques. I think a lot of you listening to this right now probably follow me on Instagram and have decided to try Joe's lighting technique. And I can say from experience that I will never go back to another lighting schedule. So Joe has just really given us some amazing, priceless information, and he's given it freely to us. So yeah, we're just gonna have Joe on here again. He's got some more stuff he wants to talk about. So how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. Smoking some of the Durban peaches. Really nice. I want to thank my buddy JC for bringing it over. Anyway, basically, I want to talk about Dutch marketing fraud today because the frauds are like generational now. The frauds that they created 10 and 20 years ago are being brought out again to new generation of smokers that really don't know squat about cannabis, and all they've ever smoked is dumb weed. They have never smoked really medical weed or intellectual weed like we had in the 50s, 60s through the 70s and 80s, because all that was landrace strains that came from original producing countries and grown under their own in their own ecosystems. But the as an example, one of these kids, young kids, comes on. He's going to start a genetic company. He's in his 20s. Really, it's sort of insulting to even have to deal with a kid like that. He missed the good years of pot, so he doesn't even know what the good year real pot is. And basically, he was everything that he ever learned was wrong. So I'm going to go over some really frauds that have been going on in the industry for quite some time. First of all, no seed that you ever buy from Europe, from a Dutch company, uh, 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 a Spanish company, every seed that you buy in Europe has been feminized. Before, what they would do is they would sell you regular seeds, what they called regular seeds, and then they would sell you a feminized version for 3 to 4 times the price, right? Actually, they only sold you feminized seeds. It was all in the labeling. So when you bought those seeds, one, they were genetically marked so that they could see it under in a lab that the genetics came from Holland, so they can lay claim for any medical efficacy of it that it originally had when they were medical strains. Prior to 1940, all marijuana that was grown for medical purposes. Yes, some people got high on it, but more people took it as medicine than anything else. Okay, so and that's what they would do. They had one company; it was called the Ace Seed Company. Now it got sold to a person, to someone new, and they were selling. I was trying to find some of these old strains too, and I called them up. I got some seeds from them from them, and they turned out to be like total garbage, complete garbage. They were selling seeds for the sake of selling seeds because they could call a seed whatever the hell they wanted as long as they put cannabis seeds in it and mailed it out. They already had their money. So, and what do you know, right? So that was a scam that went on for years out of Holland, and they used it to really infect everybody's cannabis. That if they had good genetics, if they had old school genetics, it would have ruined them because they would have passed on the genetic marker. Again, no matter what they tell you on the internet, all you ever get from Europe are feminized seeds. It's a very controlled industry there, and everybody does business the way it's being dictated to by that group who want to make cannabis like tulips. So I was in the process of really, right now, I've made some of my blue line available. My blue line basically are all F1 from Landrace strains or hybrids that were made with my Landrace my Landrace dragon and then blue dragon and by all my pre-1972 genetics. That shit is bomb, and it's all old world as far as as far as the genetics nowadays. So I'm trying to to make some people happy, and because people really miss me being on the market because I'm the only one that really gives you F1 and old school genetics, Landrace genetics, which I took off the market. Well, here you got a company. It's called the Landrace team. So you can so someone who doesn't know a squat about cannabis, they could go in there and think, oh, look at all the stuff that this guy has available and all this and all that. Look, his prices are reasonable and da 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 da. It's all bullshit. They've got the marketing down. They've got the pictures down. They put the names up down. Nothing you buy from that company is not going to be feminized. Nothing that you buy in this company is not going to be genetically marked. Yeah, they have the pictures that they took in fields 30 years ago that they're bringing out now to try to impress people. But then when you have them DNA sequenced, that skunk line comes out and the mix comes out. The Dutch aren't going to sell you good seeds. Period. They want to take the industry over, and having this guy, a newbie, come in who doesn't know what the hell he's doing, right? But just he wants to start a breeding company because today I'm a breeder, and he's never bred anything in his life, never been anywhere in the field and collected seeds in the field. He's never seen the way cannabis grows in the field under different circumstances as far as condition, equatorial or different latitudes and longitudes. So you have a new guy coming in, he wants to be that, but he'd have to go back in a time machine. The idea that the weed of today is anything but the garbage, dude, in comparison to the weed that we got directly from cannabis producing countries like Colombia. And people think, oh, well, I just got some Colombian seeds. If you got Colombian seeds, then you must have been in a time machine and gone back in 50 years ago, 70 years ago, and collected those seeds in the Guajira. You certainly didn't get them from Holland. And you go to Colombia now, and the Dutch are growing you can go to Colombia, you can get Dutch treat, you can get AK-47. You go to Jamaica, you can get Dutch treat, you get AK-47. I go to Jamaica, I want to smoke Jamaican weed, dude. I go to Colombia, I want to smoke real Colombian. So what the Dutch have done is they've corrupted everything around the world, and guys like this guy who's just started a breeding company is really their help, because they're helping the Dutch spread their shit, their germs around and contaminate everybody's stuff. That's why I took my stuff off the market. That's why If you want to get Dutch my Durban poison, you'll have to pull my eye teeth. You know, and people use the name Durban poison just as a nomenclature. It doesn't really mean that it has anything to anything at all with Durban poison. They're using it as a selling point, the label. This is Durban poison. How would you know what Durban poison really tastes like? You're 20 years old. You're 25 years old. How the hell would you know? You know, Durban poison has a distinct flavor and smell. It smells like turpentine. You know the stuff that you use to clean paint off your brushes? Turpentine? It's called turpentine. That stuff, that's what it smells like. A lot of people are turned off to the odor and the smell because it smells petrochemical, but it's not. That's just the way it smells. It's gaseous and it smells like turpentine. And when Jace came over, he says, "Well, I have my Durban peaches." He says, "I only had a female Durban, so I bred it to my peaches. And what do you think of it?" I said to him this. I said, "Well, if this is real Durban poison, it'll smell like turpentine." When I opened the jar up, sure enough, it smelled like turpentine. So he had gotten his hands on original Durban poison, which basically I've sold and given away to just about everybody in the States because it's basically mold and mildew resistant. And so anyway, and plus mine is one of the rarest strains in the world. It's in the rare strain. So yeah, you have all this confusion. I mean, look, all these guys, they all think they're great growers. They're doing 18-6 and 12 and 12. Let's put those guys in their place. They're shit growers, because what they're having to grow cannabis under two suns. The Mother Nature only has one sun. When you calculate 18-6, that's 1.2 suns. That means you're growing cannabis under two suns. What only takes one sun to grow naturally. See, the only one making money is in Dutch petroleum. You're processing. I made hash yesterday that was so good you can dab it, and it was so good that when you see that, and I don't give a shit what kind of dab you think you're putting in your system, it can never be as clean and pure as that original product. So your whole scene is being lied to. They're producing the Dutch shell. They got fucking labs, man, with people just sitting. What can we make with cannabis that we can sell to the idiots in America? This whole scene is like stuck on stupid.
Hey Joe, would you talk a little bit about F1? And because I know there's going to be people that are listening to this and they're thinking about their seed collection and thinking to themselves, well, I've got a bunch of F1s. And after talking to you, I realized that all the stuff in my collection that's labeled F1 is just not F1.
Yeah, they're polyhybrids. You can't take, the only way you can get F1 is by taking two separate land races. Say I have a pure Afghani land race and I breed it to my pure Colombian red or my Colombian gold land race. Those two together make a F1, first generation. You have a hybrid vigor that you get, that the only time you get a hybrid vigor is when you take two independent landrace strains and breed them together. That's F1. If you take a hybrid and breed it to another hybrid, all you get are polyhybrids. So they tell you, go and pheno hunt. That's wrong. A pheno is, if let's say I have Angola red, and I brought the seeds to California, a different ecosystem, and I took those seeds and I I replicated them to each other, right? That would the next generation would be Angola red, pure Angola red, but it would be F1 because it was grown in a different ecosystem. Okay, so when people go, well, we're going on a pheno hunt, we're going on a pheno hunt, you're going on a variation hunt because you've interbred plants. You're going to have a lot of variations there. The guy, the Mac, that guy, I want to credit him. He's a great marketer, but he's a great marketer, and he gets away with saying stuff like, none of this stuff is stable, right? So when you say you want to get the Mac, and the only way to get the Mac is to get a clone from him. If you put out 1,000 of his seeds, you might not get the Mac because there's no stabilization there. See, I only do F1, and do first generation hybrid. I don't go into the whole mishmash. And I've had this stuff as an example. Somebody at the farm said to me that they had something that they called blueberry muffins. So I checked it out. It was a nice. The stem was really red, and it had a really nice odor. But when I went there, I said, "Well, this ain't blueberry muffin. This is grape ape." I said, "I've done this. I've used this strain like 30 years ago." No, this is something we created. So I did grape ape DNA sequenced. It was DNA sequenced, and sure enough, an offshoot of grape ape was blueberry muffins. See, so I know because I did genetics 30 years ago. I know because I did genetics 40 years ago, 50 years ago. This guy, all he is a mark who's just starting a breeding company, who just goes on the internet and believes everything that they tell you. That this guy's going to get screwed every way but Wednesday, every day but Wednesday. I mean, and then he wants to call himself a breeder. He's never been in the field. He's never been in the field. I've had breeders that were captured by the FARC in Colombia and kept kidnapped and kept for ransom for a year and a half before they were released. After the ransom was paid, they let him go with his seed, but the FARC in Colombia told him, "Don't come back here. We won't be nice if you come back here." So he went back. He had made some friends there because he was there a year and a half. He went back, he brought the seeds out. He came back and thought he could come back. He was never seen again. Okay. And then I was in South Africa 3 years ago, and the guy that I was visited was murdered. The Jules of the Daga couple, really nice guy. They treated me really, really well. They grew great weed. They were the ones that were instrumental in making cannabis medically legal in South Africa. They introduced me in South Africa. The healers there, they have a union, witch doctor union, too, you could call it, and they are herbal doctors. And I got to meet some of them. I showed them my book on the African medicine, the drug plants of Africa, all the remedies, where it was grown, and all that information that was available prior to 1940. They're no longer available unless you do the research and you can get your hands on that. The other day, I had a book that I bought for $2, like 50, 60 years ago. It was $250 on the internet now. There are some books, cannabis books, that the price is going through the roof the older they are. But you have to remember that the Dutch scene was created by lies, fraud, and deceptions, and control of cannabis media and cannabis information. If you can consider yourself a grower, then why are you using 2 sons to grow weed? And it's a weed, dude. If you put 10 seeds in a fertile field and you left it alone for 5 years, when you came back, that weed would have replicated itself, and now you have a field full and you haven't done nothing. It grows wild. It's a wild growing plant that was collected by our ancestors, by people 6,000 years ago, and they did the most scientific methods of trying it, trial and error. It made them feel good. It made them feel good. It didn't kill them, and it made them feel good. I mean, that's what it was back then, 6,000 years ago. The people went out and got plants and see whether they were edible. That's how they found out what was medicine, what was poison. You know, that's how it was. So if you go to Kazakhstan, they have an area that's almost the size of Rhode Island, that's wild weed growing, that's been growing there for thousands and thousands of years. It grows wild. It's a weed. They call it a weed because it's a weed. You know, the DEA used to go out every year and cut down the hemp crops because the hemp grows wild in America. And people, you know, just the old days, people would just be throwing seeds out the window and seeding everything. But the DEA would go out, and to bring their numbers up, they'd cut down all the hemp when it was seeded, when it had gone to seed, and then bring it down in cargo nets to a collection place where it would get counted and weighed, and it would go on their report, so they got more money that year they got funded more money. And everywhere where they went with the nets, with cargo nets, it would reseed everything all over again. So there was always more weed to cut next year than there is this year. You know, they have to justify how to get their dough. But yeah, the whole scene now, that are people that are trying to get into the industry and do this and do that, they've all learned wrong, and they were taught by people who learned wrong, and they were taught by people who learned wrong. Photoperiodism was left out of the grow books. That's the most important aspect of growing. It's biology 101. Nelson's greenhouse operation and management. That teaches you everything. That's the only horticultural magazine. Biology 101 is the only one that you should ever have. That'll tell you everything. People are so brainwashed that I had a friend of mine who his father grew chrysanthemums for Christmas. And he would watch his father do 12 and 1 and grow, because chrysanthemums are the same photoperiod as cannabis. But when he learned how to grow, he learned how to do 18 and 6. So even though his father was growing right, his son had been brainwashed to think that 18-6 was normal. 18-6, you would need 2 sons to be able to replicate it outdoors.
This is why for anyone who follows me, I posted a quote of what you say, Joe, of there is no such thing as cannabis botany. There is only botany.
Botany.
And people got upset about that. And they also get upset about the 2 sons things. But it's like, yes, we know it's not exactly 2 sons, but it's more than one that you would need.
It's 1.2.
Right.
So that's how I put people in their place. So I find out exactly what level of horticulture they've studied. You know what I mean? And when at these shows, you always have these guys that are like, they got bachelor's, master's, PhDs for lighting and the whole thing. And they'll start talking to me, and I say, well, 1 minute, man. Why are you? If what you're saying is true, then why are you using 2 sons to grow weed? Weed grows by itself under one sun. Why are you doing two suns? He says, what do you mean two suns? He says, you're using two suns. The kid's a bright kid, goes out, does his computer, and then he comes and finds me at the show and says, it's not two suns, it's 1.2 suns. Yes, that's two suns.
Correct. You would need more than the irregular light hours from one sun.
Yeah. So I have ways of putting people in their place. Like these kids that come in now and think that they can be geneticists and that they can do, all they're doing is just passing that genetic marker around and really ruining the weed. You see how bad the weed is now. It's all fucking hermied out.
It's unsmokable.
It's unsmokable. In 70 something, 72 or 70, the Canadians came out with a report. It said, if you breed a drug plant and to a hemp plant in the F1 generation, the drug plant has 50% less THC and the hemp plant has 50% more THC. And the plant that has less THC, it has 50% more CBD, and the plant that had CBD, now that it's mixed with THC, is 50% THC and 50% CBD. So they don't have to come out and say you're not, like Jersey came out and said you can't grow any weed stronger than 10% THC, because GW Pharmaceuticals came out with a report that anything more than 5% THC is dangerous. And that's what they tell the people in Washington that make the bills, they write the bills, okay? So they don't have to do that, because they have idiots like this guy who, Brick, whatever company he's starting, Brick House, whatever company is, they have him going out there buying into their Dutch shit, buying into the shit that they have on the computer, and they're diluting everybody's shit. In the end, it all reverts to hemp. So if it tastes like hemp, it's because it's reverting to hemp.
That makes me think about something, Joe. What do you think about the Delta 8 stuff and how they're
it's just another marketing scam, because Delta 8 isn't under restriction, right? All they have, right? They've broken it down, DNA sequence it all. So there's over 100 different cannabinoids, or there's a huge amount of cannabinoids, and you've only heard about 24 of them, but there's many more.
So they want to roll them out one by one and get as much money.
And it does something else. See, before all of that was in one plant. You had full spectrum medicine. They've separated the medicine out, so now they can make other things with it and call it other names. But meanwhile, they've taken the medicine out of your weed, and all you have is THC, so you get stupefied. That's why I call it stupid weed. That's why people from the old days say, man, where's that pot that made my eyes red? Man, where's that pot that was the Energizer Bunny? Where's that pot where I took one day hit and I was out working all day? Where's that pot that made me think out of the box? Where's that pot that made me musically inclined? Where's that pot that created me artistically? Where's that pot that made me a better writer? You know what I mean? You don't have that intellectual pot anymore. Always before, pot was always looked at as an intellectual thing. You know what I mean? So
This is why you had the beatniks. This is why you had more interest.
Carl Sagan was a pothead.
Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, William S. Burroughs, all of these people, all of these writers.
I mean,
of course, they were into other things.
Beethoven smoked pot.
That's interesting. I never heard that.
Oh yeah, when analyzed his pot from his grave, and there was hemp resin. There was resin in there. Same thing. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson used to sit on their porch and smoke sweet hemp. Sweet hemp was a hemp that got you high.
Hey, Joe, so this
I'll tell you a
inspirational.
funny anecdote. Before there was a drug enforcement agency, you could go to Mount Vernon, where Thomas Jefferson had his house, Monticello. We had yeah, and when he was retired, he used to smoke his sweet hemp on the deck. He used to grow hemp there. They used to sell seeds of his hemp variety at Monticello as a tourist gift. You could buy it from the tourist shop. Now you can't buy that anymore.
So and this, all this inspirational, compassionate, musically inclining cannabis, this is all landrace stuff, right?
Oh, landrace sativas.
And so this makes me think of something else too, because
indicas were always used. Indicas are two different types of plant. An indica is a squat, more bush-like plant. It doesn't grow like tall like a sativa. When you go to Nepal, the plants there are sativa type of plants, resin producing plants, but they're not like indicas like in Afghanistan and Pakistan. An indica is a bush. It's a bush type of plant. It doesn't get very big. In Lebanon, the plants never get more than 4 or 6 feet tall. If you get one that's more than 6 feet tall, it's like a big plant in Lebanon. You know what I mean? So those are indica plants. They grow differently than sativa. What they've done in places like Afghanistan and Pakistan is that they've gotten really good sativas back, who knows when, and they mixed it, they bred it to their indica, so they have an indica sativa hybrid, a bigger plant that produces more resin so that they can make more hash. So that was a farmer thing, you know what I mean? A farmer thing.
it makes me think, a lot of these people worship a lot of these American and European breeders, but truthfully, the best breeders would have been the old breeders in Afghanistan or Lebanon or Nepal. Those are the people that I think, have
Those are the old breeders. And the thing about Afghanistan is that every farmer had his own crop and made his own stuff. So then whenever you went to a tea shop there, the farmers all would be real proud to be able to show the stuff that they grew and smoke their shit. They all took turns tasting everybody's stuff. It was a style in Afghanistan. It was called Charsi. It was a Charsi style. They had a whole style. They had a little the goat of the ball. They had the balls of a goat dried, and inside that goat, the ball sack. That's where they would keep their resin. Then they would take the resin out of that sack, and then they would hand press it right there in front of you. And then once they hand pressed it, they would put that piece in the hubbly bubbly. That was a whole style. You could just sit in the coffee shop and drink tea, and just most foreigners that went and took their first hit in one of those coffee shops, they got knocked out. That stuff was so strong. I mean, it was, there was a Charsi Baba, this guy's been smoking like that for 50, 60 years. They had lungs like fucking leather.
Yeah, I mean, you see those things, and they're pretty like
the difference between hand rubbed Nepali and the way they make it in Afghanistan is one is a sieving technique, a bat press that they have, and the other one is a hand press. Both they're rubbing live plants in Afghanistan. In Nepal, when you're making hash in Nepal, you're rubbing a live plant, and once it's in the afternoon around 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 11 to like 3 is like the best time to rub hash in the Himalayas because they're hot. The sun is really hot. The plants are real sticky. And so then you just rub the plants, just rub your hands together along the buds and your hands get black. The more you rub, the more black. And then you just scrape that off and rub it into a ball. When you have that really pure, fresh hash, it's real harsh. You really need to cure it. Let it dry, let it like cure. You know what I mean? Because it's just so powerful.
Well, Jace described some of that hand rubbed Afghanistan to me, and he said that he only needs a tiny amount, and he said that it's sort of mentally relaxing and sedating, but then his body is still active and he wants to do things.
Right. If you had a pure indica in Pakistan, you had like 3 different qualities. Yeah, black on the outside, gold on the inside. Then you had black on the outside, green on the inside. Then you had black on the outside and black on the inside. That stuff, the stuff that was gold was made out of a hash plant, so it was psychoactive. The stuff that was dark green and dark black, that was made with more indica variety, and that put you to sleep. So when you're buying hash in those days, you don't want to buy that darker stuff. You want to buy the lighter stuff, or at least I did. But yeah, the Dutch, they have so much pictures and this and that. They can put together a website and tell you whatever you need to tell you, and be selling you garbage seeds that they had feminized 10 years ago. How the hell do you know? How can you tell the difference between a feminized seed and a non-feminized seed? I know how to tell the price.
So that makes me think of strain hunters, and I know we've briefly touched on them before, but I think that there's been sort of a progression of false landrace education in the community, and I think that it's been led in with things like strain hunters.
Oh yeah, the guy Arjon is the biggest asshole. There's a lot of assholes in this industry, but he's one of the top 10 from the Holland. He actually paid Todd McCormick to get me thrown out of a THC expo in LA, and I had rented 3 booths there with Reinhard Delp.
Well, neither of them like you, and they both try to do anything they can to get you deplatformed and suppressed.
Right, because they don't want to know the truth. They don't want you to know the truth. You can't buy anything from any of those companies that's not feminized. You can't use a feminized strain for breeding. You know what I mean? And then when you use those seeds and you breed them forward, and there's that Hermy trait, the next time it gets bred, it's even more Hermy. If you keep breeding that stuff that's Hermy, and you keep breeding it into each other and keep breeding it into each other, at one point you'll have just a Hermy hemp plant. You know what I mean? And they've taught these kids how to like rudimentary breed, but they're not telling them about the genetics or the whether they're feminized or whether they think, oh yeah, you can breed anything to your auto flowering, and that makes it auto flowering. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's like crazy. I mean,
that makes me think of something else. So a lot of
just like lie after lie after lie after lie, and the bigger the lie, the more people believe them. I mean, I'm the only voice of reason on the internet. You got all these guys. Top Dog, give me a break. Or somebody talking about the origins of sour diesel, and this is like 2022, and the guy's like in his 30s. How the hell would he know? None of these guys were here in those days when everything we got was landrace. Everything we got was from source countries, you know? That was like the golden age of getting high. What were you going to ask me?
Well, I mean, it's super complicated. So not complicated, but it's complex because there's so many lies and they're so thick. One of the things I'm experiencing is I only understand about 0.5% of your frustration because you've been doing this for trying to teach at least the lighting technique for a very long time.
I'm not frustrated anymore. I just changed the way the world grows.
Yeah, you did. You absolutely did. But
and nobody can take away. I'm the one that made up that paradigm.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm the one that broke through the information control and the wall. And no one will ever be able to take it away from me. And I did that. That was direct aid to all growers.
We really, really, really appreciate that. I mean, I don't think I can overstate how much we appreciate it. But one of the things I'm coming in contact with is people who just are purposely dense. You tell them the information and it just bounces off their head. They just can't understand.
Well, what they can't understand this. Weed ain't 4,000 a pound anymore. How are you going to sell your shit?
Absolutely. Saving on electricity is what's going to save their asses.
Well, the floral industry, their top scientists came up to me and told me that they were going to take over the industry. Their bottom line price for growing a pound of fire is $168 a pound.
And it's quality that you would consider to be fire?
Fire quality for $168 a pound.
Wow.
That means you know.
If you can't compete with that, you're not going to have a business.
You're not going to be able to compete with that. You're going to have to certain brands, they're going to have their own stuff grown. They're going to have it's all about branding now. And yeah, who knows what's going to happen? I really shouldn't say, because who knows what's going to happen when those guys come on the market in a big way. And so the reason that they haven't is because it's still federally not legal. They said it was federally legal now to buy and sell seeds, but it's still not federally legal, 100% legal, where you can go into any store and buy weed.
Right.
So, and when it gets federally legal, those guys are going to be on board, and they're already on board. They're already growing on that level, you know. And so you have some of these corporations that are just, you know, it's funny. You know, because I've been around so long, I've seen all the different changes in the groups and the different levels of investment, who first came in. And then, like in Oregon, they're like on the 6th or 7th level of run of investors. You know, yeah, they're on their 7th or 8th wave. Here in Oregon, they're in Oklahoma, they're just going into their 2nd and 3rd wave. It's so crazy in Oklahoma that they have another company, another organization called Orca, that OMA took over Orca, which was the original organization that made it medically legal. Now they've got 2 bills that are going to be coming up in the Senate in the fall that would give Orca back its power. And at the same time, they would rewrite all the rules again. It's sort of the Wild West out here.
And they can do that as many times as they want.
Well, no, I think that the next time the rules are going to be that's what they're going to be. You know, I think that they want to show, they want to get control. Everything is out of control. The only time that you that you can grow as much as you want. All you got to do is report it when you sell it. You know, there are people here sitting on a lot of weed. Somebody showed me some of this fresh frozen. What they have here is they freeze it fresh, and then they turn that into products like, you know, oil and stuff. And see, here everybody has been taught wrong. So the other day I had these two guys here, and they're both considered experts, and they're actually giving classes and charging money for it. But they came here and I taught them their growing techniques, and I taught them how to make hashish. There's no reason to process weed when you can make it naturally as strong as you'd ever could possibly want it. So you've got these people that are just sitting in Europe making up products, diamonds, sauce, this, that. But meanwhile, it's all processed with butane. When you process with butane, they'll say it's been flushed 100%. There's no butane left. That's bullshit. There's a minute bit of butane left in there that's been super amplified, super purified. That is what addicts you. If you smoke butane every day, you did BHO every day, you did that every day, you smoked, you did dabs, right? And then you stopped after 5 years, you'd go in withdrawal. I think you would go to withdrawal if you stopped in a year. I think you would go in withdrawal if you stopped after 3 or 4 months of everyday use. Why would you take a completely natural, given to us by Mother Nature, by God? Mother Nature, Lord Shiva gave you the best medicine in the world. You have an endocannabinoid system that makes it work for man or beast. A pig has the same endocannabinoid profile. A horse does. All mammals do. In fact, before 1940, they used to make a liniment and all kinds of tinctures for horses that they used to, the bottle would say for man or beast. So not only could you take it, you could give it to your horse or to your cow. And when you walk around in Nepal back then, you see all the farmers have a couple of big pot plants, cannabis plants growing outside. And what they do, they not only use it for their medicine themselves, not only do they use the stalk to make baskets and make material with, but they feed it to their cows because it gives sweeter milk and keeps them hungry and keeps them fat. So wherever you go see a farm in Nepal, there's some ganja growing somewhere because they give it to their animals.
It's a complete protein.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, everybody here has been taught wrong. Nobody knows the history of cannabis. They don't know that Pfizer and Lilly initially made their fortunes from cannabis-based medicines. Nobody really knows that they made Mother Nature illegal and are selling you chemical concocted copies ever since that have been in the Mahabharata and natural medicines for 6,000 years. No one even knows that prior to 1940, it was all a natural business industry, right? And that you could, with a prescription, you could go into the pharmacy and buy weed and buy hash and buy tinctures. All you needed was a prescription. You know, prior to that, it was a Food and Drug Act. The food in 1909, I think. Prior than that, it had always been legal forever. And legal, I mean, when O'Shaughnessy, this Indian scientist and doctor. He went to India and studied Indian medicines. And so the tincture recipe that O'Shaughnessy brought back in 1850 or 1840 or 1850, he brought it back, but he learned about it studying herbal medicines in India in 1840. In 1850, he brought it back, and I have a bottle of it. I have one of those original bottles. It's worth about $8,000 or $10,000 now. That and that bottle was used during the Civil War it was an indica tincture bottle. I have that on my website. If you go to my website, Jeff, you can find a copy of that bottle. It's a beautiful bottle, hand blown, and on it says it's embossed cannabis indica, the tincture. And on the top, it's tracked where it's a little cracked a little bit where they took the bayonet and pulled the cork out of it. So a real Civil War souvenir. And so he made the original cannabis tincture that O'Shaughnessy made and brought back from India and sold it in 1840, 1850. It was sold up until 1940. That was an original Indian recipe, Ayurvedic recipe. That guy O'Shaughnessy didn't invent shit. He went there and copied all the shit, and then eventually, the science caught up to the herbal medicine, and they started making it out of chemicals. It was the same shit, same recipes. I mean. You don't think that they had figured out that cannabis oils were good for cancer 5,000, 6,000 years ago? You don't think they did that? Come on, man. The Chinese are so much smarter. The Orientals, the Indians were so intelligent. That whole Hinduism thing, the Bhagavad Gita, the Ayurvedic medicine. And when I was in Nepal, if you wanted to get the best hash, the guy who was the Ayurvedic doctor, he went up to the mountains and hand rubbed his own hash and collected his own herbs. So he would collect the herbs from different places that he knew other people. He would exchange herbs that were collected in another area with things from another area. And when he came to your house, he had herbs and he had a mortar and pestle, and he mixed the herbs up and then gave you straight herbs from the plant.
Well, let's face it.
That was medicine. That was if you were sick in the 19th century, you were sick. You better hope you went to a Chinese doctor or a Hindu or Ayurvedic doctor.
Yeah, when you say Ayurvedic, I don't think most people listening to this even know what that is. They buy their herbs from, if they've taken them at all.
That's a Hindu. That's the name for Hindu natural medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, natural medicine.
And it's like there's a lot of food based too, right?
All food based stuff and food based herbs and plants that they collect. What Hennessy did, he went out there and bought and got all the recipes from the Ayurvedic doctors, and then went to Europe and just started straight up copying them.
Well, let's face it, especially in America, myself included, we feed our plants better than we feed ourselves, and that's why everyone's sick, And we don't really have a concept of using food as medicine here,
Yeah. Well, we had that concept before. The Hindus, they still cook with stuff that's medicine. They use cumin and all this kind of stuff that people can take as pills nowadays. They cook with that food. So the Indians have always done that. The Ayurvedic scene in India, medical scene, created the British medical scene. The Indian medical scene, the Ayurvedic medicine, that and Chinese medicine was big in Africa. All those cannabis strains were brought to Africa from India, the caravan trade. There were caravans that were traveling stuff all around that area. You could take a caravan from South Africa all the way to Afghanistan. Biggest land bridge in the world right there. So I mean, it was a whole different scene, man. And when you went, and even in the 1950s, you still had doctors with a mortar and pestle. You never see a mortar and pestle anymore. Never. Only if you go to an Ayurvedic doctor or you go to a Chinese doctor will they make it. But now the Chinese make everything herbally, But if you go to a real herbal doctor, man, they have a mortar and pestle, and they get the herbs out. They have it there. They refresh in their stocks every year. They use natural herbs. They grind it up, and then you can put it in your food, and eat it. So yeah, here you have like two generations from the 1990s until today, reading Ed Rosenthal's bullshit, George Cervantes' bullshit. He had people doing 18-6 in greenhouses. It was like a beacon of light for law enforcement. When all he needed was a light bulb on in the middle of the night to keep the plants in veg. I mean, when I did that to him, because everybody was so snooty about, they all grew great weed. They have never grown great weed until they grown weed that was not stressed. You know what I mean? Imagine if you put yourself under 1,000 watt of HPSs for 24 hours.
Anybody that's used your lighting technique will tell you for long enough, more than a couple weeks, where I'm at now, when you walk into your room, you can feel how your plants feel. Yeah. And they even when the light's off now, the leaves don't droop. They're praying with the lights off. Now, some of them will, but what I'm getting at is that you can tell the plant is in its optimal environment. It likes the dark much more than it likes the light. And I mean, that's why when you see your plant on 18-6, you get to the 12 to 14 hour mark, and that's when they start drooping for the next 4 hours, because they're ready for that light to go off.
Yeah. I was sorted some plants on 8, 16, and then I brought it down to 7, and some of the flowers showed a male. We pulled them out, but I put them down to 16-6, brought them down slow, 1 week of 8, 1 week of 7, then right to 6, and man, it showed all the males out. Now I have pure females, and the females love 6 on, 18 off. Those females love it. Love it. The plant in the field never gets 8 hours of light. And then they lie to you. They go, more light, more light, you get better buzz. You don't get better buzz. You'll see that yourself. What you do is get a bigger power bill. Your costs more. Your work is more. All of a sudden, you have to go into your shop and into your room and feed it, water it every day. The room is hot. You got bug problems. The room is hot. Now you need an air conditioner. The room is hot. You know what I mean? And now you just switch your fucking lights to something that makes sense, and everything is improved. You don't have to work as hard. You don't have to go there every day. You can go there every other day, every third day.
That's where I'm at right now. It's like 3 days, and then I water again. Yeah. Whereas before it was every other day, if not every day.
Right. That's because you had the lights on, sucking up all that water. That's the Dutch. They want you to use up your equipment. They don't want you turning your lights off and not using your equipment as much. They teach you spend more, grow less. I'm teaching you spend less, grow more. And everybody there who switches to 12-1, after you do one grow, or after the first phone electric bill, you'll see your savings right there. But after one grow, figure out exactly how much money you saved and what your production costs, as far as what it costs you a pound to grow. And by the way, you've gained 30%. You know.
Well, yeah.
That's you can't. It's a win-win situation when you tell people, it's a direct aid to all growers. I'm not making a penny on it. Everybody who follows me makes money.
What I will say too is the ones that I have in flower, which I'm titrating down to the 6 hours, like you said to do. I'm noticing that the bud site is larger.
Yeah, the less light, it grows fatter. The buds grow bigger. Yeah, I only did that this one time. The only time I do this, I would do that. Graduate it down would be if I'm sexing plants. If I'm not sexing plants, then I would immediately put it up to do it all 6 on, 18 off.
They showed, the males showed immediately when I put them on 8 hours. So, the next time I will just go straight to 6 hours. But yeah, the bud
Yeah,
site.
if you have strictly females, you don't have to sex your plants. You got all female clones in there. Then yeah, 6 on.
Yeah, what I did was I just popped these from seed and I only vegged them for a month. And until they showed sex, and I flipped in flower because I want to see what's there because I'm hunting through these plants right now. But yeah, I mean, your schedule makes the most sense. And I will say that since putting the information, I'm flooding Instagram with all your information. And I've got so many people flipping over to this schedule now. So we are going to make an IG page, and I want to just call it whatever you want me to call it. And then, we'll put whatever information you want.
Have you seen my new website?
Grow Like Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on there right now. I was looking for that photo of the medicine bottle, but I don't see it.
That would be on my Facebook page.
Oh, okay. Then okay.
It'll either be on my pictures and on Joe Pietri versus 12 and 1, or on Joseph Pietri's thing. You got to go through it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your pictures could be in history books, in my opinion. I mean, your plants.
I've got a whole collection of bottles, and anybody out there who wants to buy a collection of bottles, let me know.
Yeah, I also I can't stress it enough how much I think people should buy your genetics. I mean,
oh yeah,
if they, especially if
the
they,
whole blue line, I have it right here. The whole line that I'm putting out now, and I'm only doing it because of your show. It's basically all either F1, like I'll have a blue Orissa gold, that's a blue dragon, and a blue Orissa, that's 2 different F1s, 2 different land races. So you get true F1. I've got a blue Durban, and that blue Durban is an F1. You know what I mean? But basically everything there is pre-1972 genetics or F1 hybrid, F1 first generations from landrace. There's 2 in there, Bongi Haze, and I hit it with my blue, and that Bongi Haze is a super sativa, psychedelic. That's a psychedelic sativa right there. And the blue Joe's Haze is another one, psychedelic sativa. Those 2 hazes right there. But yeah, I have blue Ghost Poison, blue Burmese, Maui, Kona. So it's a 3-way Hawaiian cross with blue. All the Hawaiians are pre-1972. Okay, here you have a blue Acapulco Gold with 5-0. That means it's a blue with an Acapulco Gold pre-1972 and a pre-1972 Hawaiian. You know, I mean, here's a blue Nigerian. That's an F1. That's a first generation hybrid. You know, so I have basically all these old school genetics are right there. So here you can go variant hunting. You'll be able to find, you know, you'll be able to find all the tropical flavors are there.
And you should let them know about buying the whole list too.
If they buy the whole list, it's 25 seeds, 25 packages, 12 seeds to a pack. The price is 5,000, but if you buy all 25, I'll do them for 25 off. So it'll be 4,000. 20% off, it'll be 4,000.
For people with like a lot of land or a larger operation, like this would be your chance to have a piece of history, honestly.
Oh, here you'll have super genetics. All of these have been collected by me personally and are from pre-1972 genetics. You know, I have like my Acapulco Gold, very beautiful, and I bred it to my OG, so the buds are real fat. But when you breed it out, when you look at it out on my Instagram, you'll see some foxtail type buds like the old Acapulco Gold. But then in the middle, you'll see the really fat OG gold buds. Those are the two variations when you grow that plant, either the fat bud or the foxtail. They're both nice, but the big fat buds is what I was breeding for. I breed with my own OG that I bred down back myself, and basically is based on the San Fernando Valley OG. And
do you find when you use that OG that it allows a lot of the other traits that you're trying to pass on?
Well, I bred that back from a Lemon Joy and bred it forward, bred it back, bred it forward, bred it back, till I had an original San Fernando Valley plant, but lemon flavored. So I put more lemon into these African flavors, so you even have even more flavor. You know, you get the African flavors, plus you get the flavor that I introduced, the lemon. You know, but yeah,
this is an opportunity for people to break away from
if you buy 3 packs, it's $600, but if you buy 3 packs, it's $500. Otherwise, it's $200 a pack. You get 12 seeds to the pack.
And you know, I really encourage people who usually smoke one kind of cannabis to try something new. You know, especially with something like the Blue Panama, where he's saying that the plant could potentially produce, what'd you say, 20 pounds or something?
No, the Blue Panama.
20 foot tall. That's what you said, right?
That Panama red plant is huge. You know, 3 meters at least. It's really big.
I mean, one of those plants.
If you're going to flower that inside, I would let it flower for about a week, 2 weeks, and enough for it to start. You know what I mean? Because it takes so long to finish. I would flower it almost like a week or 2 after I had a plant of any kind of size. Because that plant gets big. You have to grow that outside, and it has to be a really good temperate climate. You could grow it in a greenhouse, nice. Depends on how you grow. If you're going to grow inside or you're going to grow outside. If you go outside, then you need a greenhouse. What?
I was just gonna say, one of the things that people keep bringing up like constantly is daily light integral. And I've never used that to make any decisions, honestly.
I don't understand what you mean.
Okay, so there is a way of measuring light called DLI, daily light integral.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly not super familiar with it. But basically everyone who's asking me questions asks me, basically daily light integral is like how much light your plant gets throughout the day, you know? I don't use that to measure anything. So I guess that's
I just give her if I'm growing outdoors, or in a greenhouse, I just let what Mother Nature does. But indoors, I mean, look, it's a weed. Then it grows on its own. Doesn't need you. It doesn't need a meter to tell how much,
So basically, if
sugar.
your light is the right appropriate distance away, then that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. They're just creating product to sell you a product and creating a new. Now you need this for your DLA. That way you can measure your light every time of the day, dude.
They're overthinking it, and it just goes
They're
back to this.
overthinking it. I mean, you can grow weed anywhere. You can grow weed in Antarctica, dude. If you control the lighting and says, I mean, they have fucking polar bears in the zoo, right? And they have to. They recreate. They recreate. They recreated the ecosystem, so they have them there. You can create the ecosystem to do everything, but to try to second guess the sun, just put it in a sunny place, or just follow the instructions, keep it 2 feet over, whatever they say. I used to grow with HPSs, and then I went to ceramics. I've just started using LEDs. So I will let you know what I'm doing, how I'm doing with my LEDs.
I like the combination.
I like growing in a greenhouse.
Yeah. Do you like using ceramic metal halide inside of a greenhouse, like for additional light, or do you ever do that? Like, for instance, if you would do 12-in-1, what would you use? What type of light would you use in the middle of the night in a greenhouse?
I wouldn't use any light. I would put, depending on what size your greenhouse is. In 1,000 square foot greenhouse, I would put a 300, one of those big 300-watt light bulbs to keep plants in veg.
Yeah.
And I would put one in the middle of that greenhouse for an hour.
Okay. Don't have to overdo it.
No, you only need a light bulb on. If you look at the book shows one light bulb on while he's shutting off the dark, while he's creating a dark period. It's right in the book, Nelson's Greenhouse Operation and Management.
Okay, so that's another way people can save even more electricity, is you don't even have to use your regular full light setup.
No, you don't. You can have a completely different light in veg. And exactly, there's another way of doing it.
You just turn that on for that 1 hour in the middle of the night. So get a whole nother timer and just a light bulb, and just have that flash on for that 1 hour. And so that's just going to restore the phytochrome level and keep it in veg.
Yeah.
This is the most interesting. I mean, honestly, this, like I was telling Jace, it just makes me more and more excited, because every time I think I've learned it all about cannabis, I am completely smacked down to reality, because there's just so much more to know,
No, it's not. You're wrong.
It's been kept from us.
It's not that there's so much to learn. There is much to learn. Dude, if you grow tomatoes, you can grow cannabis. What they've done is they've taught everybody here wrong. So now everybody's having to relearn. So when you say, well, there's so much stuff to learn, no, there's stuff to relearn correctly, or to learn correctly, because you've been lied to for over 20 years by the Dutch. The worst thing that ever happened to cannabis has been the whole Dutch scene. Weed before 1940, cannabis before 1940 was grown for medical effect. Some plants had one medical effect, other plants had another medical effect. So just basically they're controlling the information. People don't realize that they could have had a prescription and bought weed in the 1930s legally. They don't know. People don't know. People don't know what happened to them last year. Forget about what happened 40, 50, 100 years ago. And kids nowadays are not history buffs. They really don't care about what happened in the past. They care about what's happening now. But when it comes to cannabis, you have to go back to the past, because it has past medical history. has medical history going back 6,000 years.
I think what we're doing here is hopefully attracting the cannabis history buffs and making new ones, because what I have noticed is that a lot of people now are doing their own research, because they're coming back to me and they're saying, oh my God, Joe's right about this. Joe's right about this. You're right about everything, basically. So
Yeah, because it basically is I'm right about everything, because for the first time you're learning the truth. This knowledge is there. This information is there. It's just been kept from you. That's been the problem. You know, they taught everybody wrong. I mean, and then they keep making these products up. Oh, now you need to measure the light every day. And I mean, so they I mean, imagine if you every day you had to run into your room and check the light, or have a meter with another connection, and so you could tell exactly how many lights are in your room, and da, 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 da. No, it's like the theater of the absurd, you know. And all the weed that we used to get back in the day was all natural weed. Those people who were growing in third world countries weren't using pesticides and fungicides and all this other kind of stuff that actually weakened marijuana. It's not as sturdy as it used to be. You know, when you feminize it and you're doing this, you're weakening the structure of the plant. What you want is a plant that grows in the wild. Have it, you know what I mean?
absolutely. You want that hybrid vigor. You want that
You
mold
want the vigor of the plant that comes with the plant. Yeah.
pest resistance.
You know?
Also, another thing about land races that haven't been altered is that they have the ability to herd microbes in the soil. So they can
Yeah.
attract certain microbes in the soil that are beneficial to them.
Yeah.
That these newer strains just can't do, because they've never been grown outside in the ground. They're started in a lab or wherever, you know, or it's clone only, and they say it's like elite, but it's just so weak. It has probably already got PM. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it just really makes me laugh, because we have these people in the community who take themselves very seriously. You know, they call themselves doctors, they call themselves scientists or engineers or whatever.
They call themselves Dr. Cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have no idea about using even any types of herbs as medicine, so they're not.
I want to applaud. I don't want to just use that guy as a sounding board, because you know I don't want to discourage him, but still, I mean, after a while it sort of gets old, you know, for some 20-year-old to come to me and tell me they're a geneticist and they're breeders, and they've never even smoked real weed before.
Yeah, that brings me to I want to ask you, for everyone listening, you know, what are some ways you can tell if somebody's telling you the truth about land races? Because, you know, it's not just this one entity. There's 50 different things on Instagram of people saying that they are, you know, land race hunters, or, you know, I'm not speaking on one specifically. I'm saying it's a whole new culture now. And so I think people need to know how to discern whether or not, I mean, a lot of them are going to the country of origin, but still that makes me suspicious, because it could just be an.
Well, the thing about it is, people going to country of origin to get seeds, they've already been contaminated. They're not buying the same seeds that were available to us 60 years ago. So you really have to.
Yeah, people need to hear that. People really need to hear that, honestly, because I get a lot of people in my messages, and they think that they're on the right track, but they don't even know if they are or not.
They never will. You know,
and we're not sitting here saying like Joe's the only person in the world you can trust, but what we are saying is he knows. We don't know. We're taking people's word for this. You know? So, I mean, I just want to encourage everyone.
Here's a guy, he's a guy, he's starting a breeding company, right? and he wrote to me this thing because I sort of knocked him on this show. I never gave his real name or his company. I tried calling. I will say that I agree. There are things I don't know. I may have only been growing cannabis for the last. Now here's a guy. He's only been growing cannabis for 2 years, and he calls himself a breeder and a geneticist, and puts up a company on the internet that like he's a breeder. So that's what you have, man. So that's why I say I may be the only one that's going to tell you the truth.
Because everybody's selling something.
Because everybody's selling something. I don't want to sell you anything. I took my shit off the market because I'm just like sick of people now. As far as I mean, look at it. The guy, he's only been growing for 2 years. What the fuck could this guy teach me?
I wonder how many people are buying your genetics and then going and crossing it straight to Dutch.
Who knows what they're doing? Once you sell them seeds, it's up to them, and they're stuck on stupid mainly. So they themselves contaminate their shit with the fucking skunk #1. I mean, what's more advertised than skunk #1? I just saw one of the an advertisement for a greenhouse from Arjan, and all his stuff had skunk #1 in it. They're reinfecting everybody's stuff again to make sure that you have their genetic marker in your shit. You know, I mean, what can I say? I've caught them doing that like over the course of the last 25 years. That's their plan. They want to be able to make tulips, cannabis like tulips. They want to control everything that you smoke. That's why when you go to Jamaica, and they're selling you a weed on the beach, they're selling you Dutch treat. They're not selling you Jamaican. If you go to Colombia, that's what do you do? Oh, they're selling Dutch weed there.
Blue Dream, AK-47, all this.
Yeah, who the fuck I want to fucking smoke Punta Roja, dude. You know, when people say, well, I want the stuff that makes my eyes red again. I want to make the stuff that really gets me like I'm fucking high, dude. Yeah, you have to go back in a time machine. Nobody grows that weed anymore. Everybody's growing stupid weed. You know? God forbid there's ever a war, man. And they have a draft again. All these guys will be either stoners or speed freaks. You know, and stoner just doesn't mean the same thing again. Doesn't mean the same thing as it once did.
Now it means a stupid person with a status symbol. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
yeah, it's
And then what drives me nuts is like, I'm still extremely uneducated.
There are some people that pay $10,000 a pound for weed.
Yeah, or 1,000 an ounce.
Or 1,000 an ounce for weed, only because they can afford to pay it for 1,000 an ounce. And those people who are paying that price, if they don't pay that price, they don't think it's going to be good.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And it's just pretty weed. That's all it is. It's just pretty.
Well, this guy, he wants to get, because he understands what I'm telling. I mean, they did the same thing, that Ace company. Then when they did, they DNA sequence Neville's Haze, and there's been so much bullshit written about Neville's Haze. Then when it got DNA sequenced, it came out as a Landrace from the Cumberland Valley. It came very close to my stuff. I mean, there were like, brother and sisters. You know what I mean? And that was the first time that I saw, why would they now they're saying that I don't know, there's so much bullshit on that scene. It's just unbelievable. But they were just, I tested those seeds. They were like so bad crap. And then well, what people don't understand is that about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it became legal to produce seeds and fucking illegal to produce seeds in Amsterdam. So they shut down all the seed companies. So a lot of people, had lost their original mothers. So you never, like, when I was there, a friend of mine came up to me and says, if you want to get original Kali Mist, I have someone here who still has the original seeds. And Kali Mist is a nice strain, but it also is American strain. What people don't understand is that all that Dutch shit originally came from here. Why are you importing Dutch shit when you have it here? Like I guess over a decade ago, I was paid to seed up a lot of the strains that were created in California were clone only. So there was no seeds. That you either with the clones you can just clone a plant out, and it has to be tissue cultured and rejuvenated after so many times. But I was producing seeds, so you see Skywalker OG, you see Tahoe OG. When you see that, you see it came from me. And so that was one of the first times you had Brett Bogue was taking over clones to Amsterdam and selling them to Arjan. And then Arjan would bring the strains to his coffee shop and he'd win cups with it. I think they let him win a couple of cups, because he was bringing all those winners there. The Dutch have always made everything that's Dutch started off in America. The grinding machines, the Scrog system. They've taken America and it's like if Ed Rosenthal sold the scene to America. And now they're selling it back to you like if they're doing you a favor. Actually, they ripped off our scene and now they're going to sell you their shit.
It's like this.
Acapulco Gold doesn't come from fucking Amsterdam.
It's like, this shit with DJ Short and Blueberry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you've got entire companies based off of Blueberry, and it's not even the real thing.
It's not even the real thing anymore. It hasn't been the real thing since he left Amsterdam, which he was very happy to have left Amsterdam because he was practically a slave there. And Amsterdam is not like the nicest place in the world to live. So in Amsterdam, you can meet somebody and their grandmother and their great grandmother, and then you can meet the girl's daughter, and they've been prostitutes like 3 generations. Prostitution is legal in Amsterdam. It's a business there. So at night you could be getting an escort. Could be somebody that have a wife and kids, have a regular family. Being a escort or being a hooker is like a regular job in Amsterdam. It should be that way too. It should be legal. It should be licensed.
It's safer for everyone that way, and
it's safer for everyone that way.
Especially for the women,
Yeah, but in Amsterdam, I'm just saying that there's very few things you can do. They don't have any industry there. What kind of industry they got there? They grow tulips. Weed is an American thing. Before, even up to this day. The Europeans smoke hash and tobacco. The Canadians, they smoke hash and tobacco. Weed has always been an American thing, So, I mean, Ed Rosenthal sold our scene to Holland and recreated it in their name.
And they just want to keep doing that over and over.
Oh, yeah. I went to South America, to Uruguay for a cup. And they were selling a 20-year-old Dutch equipment that they hadn't sold in 20 years. The stuff they hadn't gotten rid of in the 90s, they have in a warehouse. They sold it in South America. And I said, well, why are you selling this old equipment? You know what their answer to me was? Oh, we have to start them somewhere.
Bring them in slow.
And I had one girl who said, who wanted to be, everybody wants to be my friend. I choose who I pick. in this scene, and she had what was the name? She bought this one seed company, and now it's all bullshit. And she tried to pass off, oh yeah, I've been growing for like 10 years, and yeah, and you're 22. But you're a college graduate. When did you go to college? I mean, yeah, it's all bullshit after bullshit. All you have to do is ask a few questions, and you find out, you see them bullshitting. Okay, and I said, man, why are you selling this feminized shit? She says, well, we have to start them somewhere. So you have that attitude on this scene. If you've never grown before, they have to start you somewhere. Let's start them with the expensive stuff that they need 12 of. Sell them the lights and show them 18 and 6, so they spend more money on lights, and their lights have to be replaced. And that's how they think.
Sell them feminized seeds so they can't breed their own.
They can't breed their own. And when you breed a feminized seed, I'll tell you a story. The lady came to to the store where I was working. I had a booth, a table, and they said, well, go ask Joe. The lady brought 2 big jars of bud. It was all seeded bud. It was AK-47. And she said, look, I said, well, I'm sorry to tell you this. She says, isn't this worth anything? Can't I sell the seeds? Right? And I said, well, no, but you can't sell the seeds. The seeds are garbage, because when you breed them forward, you only make them more hermaphrodite than they are now. So you'll multiply that. The only thing you can do is throw that shit away. Most people wouldn't throw it away. Most people will lie and say, oh, look, these are AK-47 seeds. So yeah, you have people who are on wrong information. You have people thinking that they're gonna make $1 million in the cannabis industry. If you can make a living and pay for your bills, you'll be good.
Yeah, you can't tell them otherwise, honestly.
Yeah.
Everyone, and I think that a lot of people get angry because they see these hype strains as a way to get rich, and when we tell them it's bullshit, they get really defensive because that was their whole plan,
Well, it was easier to get rich when it was illegal. It's not illegal anymore. Everybody has it.
The cops are selling it to you now.
The same people who used to put you in jail now sell them to you. So that's how it is, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good episode because I think.
Well, what's going to be good about this episode is that stop believing what you hear, dude.
Yeah.
Because they're selling you 2 decades worth of wrong information. The 12-in-1 photoperiodic control was invented in 1920 by Americans who realized that some plants grow in the spring or springtime flowers, and some plants grow in the fall. Cannabis, rice, tomatoes, a lot of stuff finishes in the fall. And then you have plants that are day neutral. So all you have to do is replicate that time period, and with lighting, and you can control your lighting. You can grow year round, as long as you can control the lights, the heat, the atmosphere, the humidity, and everything, and the air circulation. As long as you have everything under control, you can grow full year round. All you gotta do is change your light, your timers.
People love to point to the gas lantern technique, and I think a lot of, especially this maximum yields article, which I think, did you say that was written by the Dutch?
Maximum yields. That guy is 90% bullshit. The little truth that you get of somebody like that Max Yields is unbelievable. How he can even think that it could be photoperiodism and the light lantern routine are the same or even close is completely different. the people in Northern Europe used glass houses, and at night they would heat the glass houses with gas lanterns that would put off heat so that they could keep their plants warm and keep the temperature up. When they did that, and they had the light from the gas lantern kept the lights in veg, so they basically stumbled into it. Okay, what the scientists and that was like 50, 60, way before they've learned, they realized that before. In 1920, the scientists they realized they broke it up into long day, short night, like your cannabis, a short day, a long day, short night, like your springtime flowers, and day neutral. They figured that out. And when they figured it out, they figured out that now that you know exactly what the lighting periods are, right? You can manipulate it by controlling the light and controlling everything and just making it one period, the same light period, year round, for flowering. Flowers like cannabis or like chrysanthemums, or and that's what the Americans did. The gas lantern routine had really the only thing that it did was it showed that the plant stayed in veg because they had the gas lantern on all night. It didn't show that there are 3 different types of different plants and different times that they grow. It was a scientist that did that, 2 American scientists, and it's called photoperiodism, and it's called photoperiodic control. And that's what made the flower industry. That's what made the flower industry great, because now they can grow flowers year round.
Yeah, we call cannabis flowers, but I think people think of cannabis differently than other flowers, and that's
all it is a flower.
Yeah. And it's just, I think a lot of people want to feel special because they got good at growing cannabis, but it's really not that special,
No, it's just like growing tomatoes.
Yeah. Everyone should know how to do it.
I tell this to people. They'll come in, they're buying 12 different products for veg and products for flour and all these products. And I'll tell them this. I said, you know what? Do this. Go out and buy the best tomato food that you can buy on the market, in a gardening store. Get good tomato food, and just give your plant that. Don't give it anything else. Water it like you're supposed to, and give it that only. And the guy came out and said, man, the pot that I grew with that tomato stuff was just as good as the stuff. In fact, it was better. I mean, there's no reason that the cannabis doesn't come in one product. I have my product. If you go to my website, Grow Like Joe, I have 2 products there. One product there is my dripstone nutrients, and then I have my ultra gold. My dripstone nutrients are the best nutrients that you can buy on the market. When you use it commercially, it costs about 5 cents a gallon. When you use it as a hobbyist, it costs about 8 cents a gallon. It's the best in the world. It's completely clean. I call it cannabis blood because it doesn't have to break anything down. It just can suck it right up. And the Ultra Gold basically is a biostimulant that increases the terpene and cannabinoid profile of 15 to 20%. It also makes your buds 15 to 20% bigger. So those are the plants that I promote. Everything that I promote, I sell myself. Everything that all my seeds, if I put out some of my seeds, everything I make myself. I don't buy them from anybody else. Everything I do myself with my own hands.
That's another thing we see these larger seed companies doing, is buying seed from other people and then white labeling it.
Yeah. To buy seeds in this atmosphere is a dangerous path, is a dangerous thing. You stand to lose your money 9 out of 10 times. There's only a couple of people that
I really hope people stop selecting their cannabis to grow based on the way it looks. I hope that people take what you've given us and really start to look for real medicine. And I really truly hope that people support you.
Well,
And
if they want to buy some variations, then the blue line is going to give you everything from pre-1972 to real land races that I've put together myself.
I've seen photos of the Blue Dragon and it looks incredible, honestly.
The Blue Dragon triple stacks its trichomes. It turns purple, and on its own, without the cold weather, without bringing the temperature down. You bring the temperature down, it turns unbelievable purple. But it triple stacks trichomes is a very sticky, resin producing, hash making strain.
You know, there's a lot of people listening to this that have spent a lot of money on shit seeds. So I just hope people support you and because you know, like I was telling Jason,
I just put them on. I just put them on the on this broadcast. Basically, I've stopped selling seeds.
no, I know, and that's we want to just help you get that line, you know, sold, and then if you're gonna have the THCV line available, eventually, right?
I have. I'm working on that right now. I have seeds from that right now, but I'm not putting them on the market yet. I'm having them tested first.
See,
That's
that's
the
what we
next
want to
thing
hear.
I'll do within the next 2 months. I'll have my THCV lines tested.
Awesome. And so people should come to your website, growlikejoe.com.
Go to my website. We're when you go to my website, you can go to commercial or hobbyist. When you press the button to commercial to a hobbyist, you get a direct line to the company. They pay the shipping, and they also give you a 10% discount or whatever. They give you a discount on that level. And the same thing on the commercial line. Once you press the commercial button, it'll go directly to Dripstone. You can order directly from them. I'm hooking up the Ultra Gold. I'm doing that this weekend. By next week, everything will be up.
Yeah. I really hope that people jump at this opportunity to buy the true F1s that are on the market, you know?
Yeah, this guy, he said, well, he wants to buy Durban Poison. I told him, okay, I want $1,500 for 15 seeds. It blew his mind.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not giving them away anymore. I'm not even selling them anymore. So I mean, I have a lot of these companies that have basically based on my lines.
Yeah.
You know, so I've stopped doing it because, you know, I create my own Frankensteins. You know?
Yeah, I'm anxious to see, you know, I want anybody that buys seeds from Joe, make sure you tag me in a photo. I want to see what you guys do.
Yeah,
And
definitely take pictures.
don't waste Joe's time, you know. And when you're ready to buy
Anyway, this is Catch Me While You Can. I'm you know what I mean? I'm really busy doing other stuff, but you know, I have 25 lines, 25 strains that on that line, that any one of those strains are off the hook, all pre-1972 or all land races, which I've collected myself over the years. I've been in the seed business since 1970. I've been doing this since 63. I've been to every drug producing country in the world. I've been to Afghanistan, Pakistan. I lived in Nepal. I lived in India. I lived in Laos. I've been all over South America. I've been all over Europe. You know,
where
I've
else
lived.
can people buy your books?
They can buy it on Amazon.
Okay. Do you have audiobooks?
Yeah, they have it. They have it on Amazon. You can get an audio copy.
Amazing. Well, Joe,
If you can get a copy of The American Drug War, The Last White Hope, that was the first documentary I was in.
okay. Yeah, people should definitely check all this stuff out. I mean,
I did some shows that were called Joe Pietri versus the Not So Free World. I did shows on Pot TV. I've done a lot of shows. So if you put my name in there, a bunch of stuff comes up.
yeah, and I've also, how I found you was looking through old forum stuff. So I seen you fighting the good fight 15 years ago on the forums, you know.
They finally the 12-in-1 finally broke through the information gap. I've had so many people try to like get on my bandwagon, like if they had something to do with it, or this is something that I'm gonna give, that now I can turn people on, you know. Just like I had one guy who was just like impossible. He was going to write a book basically on my paradigm. So I said, hey man, I need to write the introduction to your book. I got him a publisher and I forget. I'll tell you the name. I won't even think of it now. But anyway, and I wrote the introduction into his book, and and you know, so that he couldn't take away from me. Because he was trying to just take away from me, you know.
Yeah.
So that basically, I gave him, you know, a tumbler. I tried to be friendly with him, you know, because he was going to do it without me. Well, he wouldn't have done it without me if I wouldn't have brought him a publisher. I will never do that again. After a while, you know, I'm harsh with people. I'm not going to put up with idiots, you know, and I'm not going to put up, if you don't know the basic of growing a tomato, if you've never know the basics of growing, you know, don't expect me to show you how to crack a seed. Go to my fucking Grow Like Joe page and go to Grow Tips. It's right there. Bingo. Don't waste my time, you know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people on my Grow page, if they're at that level, I won't put up with them. I'll delete them. Who's next? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it said to him. Well, people need to learn. But he was just using it as an excuse because people don't want to know him. They want to know me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But you know, I've had that happen a couple of times with people. Not with this routine, with other routines. You know, finally, you know, I hear people. I've had people talk about themselves using my biography. Okay, I've had every copyist that you could do. You know, they want to learn some kind of secret or whatever. You know.
I just feel grateful to know you.
It's not a secret. It's photoperiodism. It's in all your biology books. It's 1920. It was discovered. It's nothing new. It's over 100 years old now. You know what I mean? You know, you should have opened up your biology. You should have studied more. You know, but you didn't apply it then. Now that you're growing, apply what you learned in biology.
Yep.
You know, I mean, so that was the only thing that it did, is that I broke through the information gap.
Yeah. Well, I think you're one of one, Joe. There's a lot of imitators, but nobody's a Joe Pietri, you know?
All right. So we'll call it a day, and hopefully don't, you know, buy your seeds from someone you really, really know.
Yeah.
Don't buy them from Holland or anywhere from Europe, because all you're going to get is feminized stuff that has a DNA marker on it, has a genetic marker on it.
Yeah, you don't want to be one day have your stuff taken away from you because it's your copyright.
Or sued because you're selling their strain.
Right. Because that's coming.
Yeah. They want to make it like tulips, you know. Anyway, everybody have a great day, and I'll be speaking to you soon.
Take care, Joe.
Ciao.